Hello Internet, it is I, and today I'm going to show you how to make some gosh darn rootin' tootin' awesome dill pickles. As I found out in the last few weeks, pickles are actually ridiculously easy, and if World War III ever happens and the bombs start falling, it's a great thing to have in your arsenal. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want is a big pan like this, of similar size, and a measuring cup. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure 1 cup of white vinegar and 2 cups of water. So far so good. And these are the spices that we're going to use today. The main one is dill seeds. The other one is sea salt, onion powder, powdered yellow mustard, and some minced garlic. Also, garlic powder would probably work just as well. I just like minced garlic because I feel like it's not going to be quite as garlicky. I personally love garlic because it can help bolster the immune system and also arguably helps to ward off evil spells. If you're a zesty little jerk and you want a little extra flavor, you can add a few black peppercorns to it. It's up to you. So now we have the spices, and next we're going to measure them out. So as I said, the main one is the dill seeds, and you can also combine it with a little bit of dill weed if you want a more dilly flavor. But we're going to use 2 tablespoons. Just measure that out, dump it into your water. Alright. Next, we are going to use half a teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of the yellow mustard powder, and a full tablespoon of sea salt. Yeah, sodium is great because if used in the right amounts, it can lower your lifespan. Meaning if you play it right, you might not have to be around for the 2020 election. Political jokes. As for the minced garlic, this is kind of a matter of taste. My personal preference is to use a full tablespoon, but if you want less of a garlicky flavor, you can go with a half a tablespoon. Nobody's gonna get hurt or killed. Don't worry about it. So next we're gonna put that puppy over a burner on high heat and let it go for about 10 minutes until it gets to a roiling boil. And after it starts boiling, let it boil for about 5 minutes. And that'll create the brine that we're going to use to soak our pickles. So while that brine is boiling, we have some prep to do. This brine, the amount that we used, will yield approximately 2 cucumbers worth of pickles, which will be 1 jar. You can either slice them into small hamburger dill circles, or you can slice them into spears. But today I'm going to do spears. Make little spears. I'm sure you can figure this out. I'm not going to bother explaining this. Just make spears, you know? One of those things that humankind has been doing for basically all of our history. 1 cucumber. And so they fit in the jar easier. You can actually split them down the middle before you spear them. I mean, it all depends on how big your jars are. Now that we got all these cut, I'm just going to stuff them into the jar. If you're really good at Tetris, that really helps. But after we get them all stuffed in the jar, then it's super easy from that on out. We just gotta pour the brine in there. So there we are, good to go. And now we're just waiting on the brine. Like I said, after it comes to a roiling broil, you can let it boil for about 5 minutes, maybe 10. It's really a matter of preference. But if you're stirring it every once in a while it's boiling, it'll be good enough. Basically all you need is the salt to dissolve in the water. And after it starts sitting in the jar, the soaking process will basically take care of the rest. So. But while we're waiting for our brine to boil, now's a good time to think about how humankind is basically hyper-intelligent monkeys lacking self-awareness who are slowly destroying their planet and slowly sending themselves into oblivion. Look at that beautiful boiling pot. Isn't that a beautiful boiling pot? I love that. Just look at the curvature of this thing. It basically looks like tiny little bits of chopped up mice thrown into some boiling water. And that's exactly what we're going for. If it smells like a pickly toilet, then you might be on the right track. Yeah, More political jokes, I know. So, after the whole thing has come to a boil and you're pretty sure that all the salt and onion powder has mixed into the brine, you're gonna let that thing sit and chill for about 5 minutes to make sure it's cool enough where it won't burn through the floor. After that, it's pretty simple, yo. All we have to do is carefully pour this brine into the jar over the pickles. And this is a crash course lesson in pickling. See this? I don't have enough brine in my jar. So what do we do now? Well, folks, what you want with any jar when you're going to can it is you want about a ½ inch of space between the lid and the rim. So what we're going to do is just pour a little bit more vinegar, half and half, vinegar and water. If that ever happens to you, that's what you got to do. Alright, now we screw this gosh darn lid on there. And now we're down to the last step. Let's can this puppy. Alright, we're at the last step. Now we're just going to put both of our pickle jars in a pot and fill it with water. You probably want to leave about a ½ inch of a gap so that the water doesn't boil over, but there you go. Put that back on the oven at high heat. And after it starts boiling, just let it boil for 10 minutes. And I know, you may be asking yourself, Captain Douchebag, what do I do after that? Well, after they've been boiling for 10 minutes, we're going to take them out gently and flip them over onto a towel. Flip the jars upside down and let them sit until you hear them make a popping sound. That means that the jar is sealed. After that, basically just let them sit for about a week. And you can let them sit for 2 weeks if you're a super stickler. But in this case, I just made you a super pickler. Enjoy!